Well, let's get more now from our reporter Helen Brown, who's in Jakarta. Helen Brown, tell us a little bit about the case against Umar Patek.
The prosecutors have listed quite a lengthy indictment, which they read out in court this morning, based on evidence that the police had given to them, obviously. It relates to several events stretching over 10 years. They're alleging, for instance, that he was the bomb maker for a series of bombs that was destined to go off in Jakarta around Christmas in the year 2000. That he'd actually been recruited by someone else involved in the Bali bombings, Imam Samudra, to do that. They also allege that he was involved in the bomb in Bali in 2002 that caused 202 deaths, and his role was key to that. He was asked to construct the bomb that was put into the van that was parked outside the Sari Club and then exploded. Excuse me, and that he'd made 700 kilograms of explosive material to do that. They alleged in court that he fled to the Philippines soon after and then spent several years on the run, coming back to Indonesia, where he's accused of using false documents to get a new passport and entering the country illegally, and that he bought firearms in and tested them in Indonesia, and those firearms would then be sent to a training camp in Aceh, which was broken up by police a couple of years ago, a military-style training camp for radical Islamists. And they're accusing him of providing firearms for that training camp and also not alerting authorities to the fact that it existed. So those are the main charges that have been mentioned in court this morning.
So this is a very, sorry, I was going to say this is a very high-profile terrorism case. I would have imagined that security would have been quite tight around the courtroom today.
Look, security was tight. It certainly wasn't as heavy as what we saw for the trial of Abu Bakr Bashir, and it was in a new court complex, a very smart court, that made it easier for them to keep security tight. Umar Patek, the basement area, was unless he arrived in an armoured police tank. It was backed up to the holding cells. He walked about 5 metres out of the back of the tank into the holding cells, and that's when we got our first glimpse of him. Certainly soldiers walking around with machine guns, but I wouldn't say it was an overwhelming presence, but certainly security was tight.
Helen Brown, he was arrested, interestingly, in the same Pakistani town where Osama bin Laden had his safe house. Is this trial expected to shed any light on possible links between groups like Jemaah Islamiyah in Indonesia, and also groups like Al-Qaeda?
Look, it's hard to know at this stage, and this is the big question about how much he knows about those links, about the networks that exist, about perhaps Indonesians that are in the Philippines. One of the eminent analysts on this, Sydney Jones, says, that's the great question mark. How many others are in the Philippines involved in this kind of campaign? I don't know if that's going to come up during the trial. It certainly hasn't been mentioned, but I imagine that he is now in the custody of the Indonesian police, and the suggestion is they'll be trying to get as much information as they can to see what those links are and how strong they are. Certainly on a local level, he doesn't seem to have as much power as he used to. He's been on the run for quite a while. He's not considered one of the key leaders. He's more someone who has a key skill and can apply that to the radical movement.